Hi, my name is Patricio Molina, composer and pianist and director of the conservatory at the Newark School of the Arts. Each week, we talk with a different composer to learn more about their creative process, life, and work. Today's composer guest is Valerie Capers. Dr. Valerie Capers was born in the Bronx and received her early schooling at the New York Institute for the Education of the Blind. She earned her bachelor's and master's degrees from the Juilliard School of Music, the first blind person to do so. For several years, she served on the faculty of the Manhattan School of Music. Today, we talk about Valerie's secret of excelling as a composer, pianist, and educator, attending Juilliard as a blind student, and her popular pedagogical book, Portraits in Jazz, published in 2012 by Oxford. We begin with an excerpt of Portraits in Jazz performed by acclaimed Spanish pianist Enriqueta Somarriba. So we're very honored to have you, Valerie, here with us. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Patricia.
So Valerie, I have a question for you. You're a renowned composer, performer, and educator. Most people would be happy to excel in just one area. What's your secret?
Oh my goodness. I guess my secret is, I never thought about it, but it's just that I love music, and I've always loved playing. It's a very important thing in my life. And then I discovered as a kid that I could make up tunes and create little compositions, and I was very happy with that. And but I didn't develop it much. But then I got into getting my education, and I knew that I had to have that. And when I decided that music would have to be the major thing in my life, that I'd like to target going to Juilliard. There might be problems going because of my being blind, but I decided I was going to try it. And then after I got into school, a number of things came in projects, and it lent itself to my doing some composing. And I found out that I really love composing, and I haven't composed a great many works and things, but I've had wonderful success and reviews with the few things that I have composed. I find composing such a challenge, and it's one of my favorite projects in music. I think I love composing maybe as much as I do performing.
So that's amazing, because I'm also a composer, and I began as a performer, and I share the same feelings that you have. So
Yes.
I'm curious if you could share with us your day-to-day, like as a teacher and as a composer. What does your day look like?
You mean right now or in the past? Or you mean like at the present time?
We're gonna start with the
At the
present
present
time.
time, well,
Yeah.
if we, okay, all right. Well, with the present time, I, uh, I, I get up early. Early for me, I think it's about maybe 8 o'clock or something like that. And by 10, I've had breakfast and I get ready to practice. And I usually find that I can practice and concentrate mentally. At least I find 3 hours is my limit. I used to do all kinds of ridiculous hours when I was a student at Juilliard, 4 hours, 5 hours, and practically have to be scraped up off the floor when it was finished. But I find that maybe 3 hours is my capacity at one sitting. When my mind gets tired, then I'm not doing so well. But if that happens, and I, let's say, finish practicing in the early afternoon, I might have teaching, or I might have other things that I have to do. I make it possible to come back and maybe work again for an hour or 2 hours in the evening. And that's why I'm so grateful for the electric keyboard that Yamaha has. They've done a new one, a 127, that really has a piano sound, and it's really wonderful. So it means if I decide that I have enough energy to practice from 8 to 10 or not, do it without disturbing people in the other apartments. And so that's what it is. Some days I miss because I have to practice, and it was more difficult when I was working at Manhattan or at the Bronx Community College when I was chairman. It was more difficult to be as scheduled as I'd like to be. But that's basically, I try to get in anywhere from 3 to 5 hours of practice a day.
I have a couple questions about portraits in jazz. It's very popular with our faculty at the Newark School of the Arts. And one question I've been asked is, what other repertoire that you've composed would you recommend for our faculty members to teach their students?
I would say that I don't have an awful lot. The portraits in jazz was something that I felt very, I was driven to put down and for the students, because I'd seen so much really nonsense talking about introducing students to jazz, and I thought that it should be something that would give them joy. And I've been so happy that everybody seems to like it. But then that's piano that I've composed for. Then I've composed compositions for the theater, which involves, dancers and singers, and not a lot of things, but dancers and singers and chorus. And then I've done choral music as well, because several of my friends are teachers and they have courses and they've wanted to do original stuff. And so that's basically what I've done. I had a big work, I had a big work called Sing About Love, which was 3 hours long. And it was done in Carnegie Hall. George Wein produced it. And it was a jazz composition about Christmas. And it was very successful. It had a large orchestra, chorus, soloists, and it's one of my compositions that I'm most proud of. I don't have a lot of compositions. I've done shorter works dealing with various historical people, such as Sojourner Truth. And again, it was basically with an orchestra and with chorus and with singers, because in many cases we couldn't really get funds for something that would be more theatrical with, you know, staging and scenery. But I really don't have, and I've done more work, I guess, for singers than I have for pianists. So I don't really have anything else that I can suggest to you right now.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that the pianists are hungry for anything else you could write.
Well, you've given me, all right, I will work on something else. I will do that.
That'd be wonderful.
I'll absolutely do that.
So I second Larry on that. Now, can you tell us why you decided to write portraits in jazz, and what was the process like?
Oh, well, once I decided after seeing material that I just thought wasn't quite right, and I thought about it a bit, and I thought about, now what would be the things that would interest them, where they'd be interested in playing, and where they'd like to learn at the same time, and how can you do it so it would sound like jazz, and if you will. And for example, Miles is Waltz of Miles. Miles is known for his, you know, beauty of phrase and his lyricism. So what I did was to compose a piece called Waltz of Miles with a melody that I thought would be lyrical and pleasant to hear, with nice harmonies underneath, and that's what moved me to do the Miles piece. And for Blues for the Duke, for example, when you have the 12-bar blues, and the melody of the blues is done sort of in 6/4 inversions of a triad, da 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 da, and it sounds like a blues, more or less of a kind of old-fashioned blues in a sense, or traditional blues, I guess I should say. And then at the third chorus, where it goes sort of da 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 dum bum bum da da dum, that sort of you know, refers to the street bands of New Orleans. So I thought about that. And then a taste of bass. I thought it'd be fun to find a way to, of course, explain what the bass does for a group, and to find a way to have the bass play a little bit of a melody, and then have the piece continue with the up and down movement through the scales and the chords, and function the way a bass player would function. And the bossa nova, I always say to the students, well, I cheated here a little bit. The wonderful rhythm of the bossa nova, I felt was complex to see it written down. You'd have to tie some notes over the bar line, and then at the same time, you're trying to get them to get the feel of what the bossa nova is. And I felt that the feel of it was very important. So I found that trying to literally give them the bossa nova beat, I thought would be a disaster. So I thought that it would be best to use a dotted quarter and an eighth for the bars to move it along. And it has that feeling. And Mr. Satchmo, love Louis Armstrong. And in that one, that's fun because it sounds like an old-fashioned, if you will, street band in New Orleans. And at the beginning, after every 2 bars or so, it breaks, where it gives Louis a chance to just show off with a couple of bars of improvisation, which is fun. And so that always brings a smile to my face when I think about it. And and that was thinking about him and Billy, Billy, Billie Holiday. Yeah, Billy's song. The next one of the songs, Billy's song. All I wanted to do was, what could I do? I couldn't. There isn't any way I could do anything about the sound of her voice or anything like that. But I just decided to write a very nice song, a short song that and call it Billy's song. There is a possibility that she could sing something like that. And of course, Bird. Bird is one that I've always felt a little uneasy with Bird because doing the open sevenths and things like that in the left hand and all the eighths and sixteenths that go in the right hand. Sometimes I feel, oh, it's a shame that there's no bass player playing or drums playing. But I thought, well, I almost didn't put it in the collection, but I said, well, put it in anyway so they can get an idea of what a piano player is doing in a group when they're playing and improvising and playing with other instruments as well, and how they have the open seventh and bringing the melody around and that. And Train, of course, Cool Train was just to create a very busy and somewhat technical, of course, it's the most difficult piece in the collection. Give it a chance, give them a chance to try something difficult, and it's not too long, but it's demanding because it's a sort of I would say a fast piece. It doesn't have to be a presto fast, but it has to be fast, and I thought that would be a good example of experiencing the kind of ideas and the way they're put together in a saxophone solo. So I tried to analyze the things as much as I possibly could to get the students interested in what they're doing and know that what they're playing from Portraits in Jazz is not anything like the regular ordinary books that they're studying from. So I've been very happy about that book.
Well, you not only wrote great music, but you really captured the spirit of each of those artists.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I truly appreciate that.
And that was a wonderful summary of overview of this book. We have a lot of our students are learning many of these pieces, and
yes.
And it's how wonderful to hear from the composer herself. What inspired. And I love.
Right.
I love the variety of music that you have, the styles as well. Havana, Cuba, Brazil.
Oh, yes.
It's so much variety as well. On Bossa Brasilia, you mentioned that the rhythm was very tough, and my student who's learning this is having a very difficult time with that. So coming from you, I hope he feels better about it.
Well, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, and so you could see what I mean about tough and having to get the coordination and count the notes on the paper, the eighths tied to this and over the bar. I mean, it takes the joy out of it. It's like digging a ditch at that point, and you don't want to do that. And Bossa Nova is so wonderful, and it's just so wonderful. And so I tried to do something like that and tell him to think mostly about the dotted quarter and the eighth, da, 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 da. And if he could just think that that's what the left hand is doing, and he's going to, and of course, a couple of bars, it breaks a little bit to turn you around to repeat or something like that. But if he can even practice, the da 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 da, I guess, bum 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 bum. He won't have to adjust. He won't have to adjust anything. It's the chord. coordination of that more than anything, you know?
We would love to have you for a master class, so you can meet the students and they can meet you. Um, so
Oh, well, I'd love to.
I would like to ask you, what projects are you involved on right now, composition wise?
Oh, my goodness. Composition wise, I know this is going to be very disappointing to tell you. I don't have a particular project at this moment. I've had I've just had a lot of things to do with involving past compositions and teaching and adjustments with so many things that have been going on that I haven't had a chance to sit down and think about what I'm going to do next. But there is a festival in California that we go to every year. What is it? What is it, John? The African Composer. That's right, African American Composers Initiative, and each year I've been doing basic projects, and it's about African American history, and it's about it's so wonderful, and it's a very mixed, marvelous musicians. We've had musicians who are in this project from the symphony and from the ballet orchestras and from local jazz things and so forth and so on. And I've written a couple of larger pieces for them, which involves a chorus and all. And I'm seriously thinking, the only thing I have been seriously thinking about doing is doing a piece for them based on the life of John Lewis. And I'm going to start doing some reading on that soon, his biography, and reading his speeches and going through all that. And I've been, that's the main thing I'm going to be focused on once I get the materials to write that for next year.
Wow. Well, I have to say that there's a few people in this world that are so inspiring, and I know that you are one of them. Everything, all the music that you have created and everything that you have accomplished in your life is very inspiring and a motivation for so many.
Oh, thank you. I'm sort of embarrassed with that praise, but thank you very much. It's just, well, Patricia, when we get involved and we feel that something has to be expressed, we just have to do it. It just has to happen, and so but I'm gonna take both of you at your word, and I'll see if I can't put enough as this first one, but I'll think about it and try to do maybe Portraits in Jazz Volume 2 and see what else I could come up with.
Wow,
that would be wonderful. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about your teaching, how you approach teaching?
Oh, can you define that question a little bit more?
With your piano students. Yeah, do you have a way that you approach it with, like, let's say beginning students or advanced students?
I got you. For the most part, I have worked with beginning and intermediate students and sort of semi-advanced students. One of the reasons why I wouldn't accept a teaching position, let's say in a conservatory like Manhattan School of Music, where I did do teaching there, but not instrumental teaching, but rather academic teaching there, is because those teachers they have to be aware of enormous amounts of piano literature, contemporary piano literature, all the basic literature. I've never in my life played, Patricio, maybe you have, I've never in my life played all 32 sonatas of Beethoven. I played a good number of them, maybe 15 or so in my lifetime. And I haven't played all the sonatas of Mozart. I've done many of the inventions and the preludes and fugues of Bach, the traditional stuff. Contemporary stuff, I had to have, I wanted to play a Prokofiev sonata number 3, and I had to get that brailled, and that's a problem. I had to get that brailled, and because it wasn't brailled for someone that are composing now, it's a hassle. And what happens is that we who study by Braille music, we cannot do anything until we get the music. And the basic thing about learning Braille music at all is the memory. We have to memorize from the get-go, and it doesn't pay for the printing houses when they've mostly now been able to have a lot of the basic material. But I would never be able to teach well pieces that I haven't had a personal experience playing, because there are technical problems that a teacher has to help a student get through and to get over. So I stick with what availability I have with intermediate students and beginning students, and with the students that are more advanced, I've been able, of course, to work with them with basic stuff, Chopin, Debussy. I'm not mentioning all the people, but they're all brailled, all those basic piano pieces. And then what I do is also, if there's something particular that they would like to learn, that if I can get it brailled, and it's not always very easy to get it brailled, I'll try to get it brailled, and then try to work on it so that I can help them in learning. And so that's what the situation is. And at this particular point, I'm not teaching piano. I haven't taught piano for about, I would say maybe for about 3 years or so. I've been involved in teachers and lecturing classes, and in composing, and having workshops and things like that. Oh, okay. Let's see, in one of my traditional courses, the electric topics are, of course, the composers and the time in which they lived, and the whole picture. In other words, for me, it's not just picking out a piece that I'm introducing to the class to listen to, and to tell them that, let's say Beethoven wrote this, the Heroic Symphony. It's talking about the composer himself, how he lived, what the daily life was like, what the politics was like about in that time, and what was going on in the world at that time, because they have a tendency to think about composers as if they live not touched by the sound them. And I mean, my goodness, when you get involved in dealing with some of these composers like Richard Wagner, for example, boy, what a mess, you know, political and all these things, you know, and it's just amazing. And that's one of the things that I got them sort of excited about. And I remember when I had my jazz history class, and we started with New Orleans and things like that. We even went back to listen to field songs and hollers and things like that. And we got into that, and they were just so surprised about how bebop came around and how influential the Second World War was on what changed the music all around from the band. When guys had to go off to war, they never thought about those things. And when they came back, you go the Baroque period, everybody composes polyphonically. You go into the classical period and everybody composed homophonically. You get into the Romantic period and all hell breaks loose. You can't talk about the Romantic period and say one thing unless it's more harmonically adventurous, advanced or whatever, and that doesn't tell you anything. But you can't listen to Mendelssohn and feel you know about the Romantic period, or Chopin, you know about them, or Berlioz, you know about. There's so many, and that's like the way it was when the bebop started, and that was interesting to point that out.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we're at the end of the interview, but just wanted to thank you for your time. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to meet you. And we look forward to having you again back for our masterclass.
Well, listen, I'm thrilled to death, and I'm just, this pandemic has just been getting on my nerves terribly. I said, when are we going to get this thing ended? You wake up every morning and it's the same thing again. And so you sort of brightened up my week. And and thank you for saying nice things about me, guys.
Thank you for attending today. Next week, we talk with composer Derek Bermel. Join us at 3 p.m. on our YouTube channel.